All right, hang on. Sucker's on there, good. Oh. Oh, 30 wire. Oh, 25. Wow, this is cool. 25 thousandths or 30 thousandths. So basically, whatever you read here is what's in the back groove. Hey, relax, dude. So that back groove, that rear groove, is the 30 thousandths wire. 0.030. So you have 3 decimal places. So that's 30 thousandths of an inch. Right back there. And if you flip it and put it on the other side, now you're looking at 25 thousandths of an inch. So since I have some 30 thousandths wire, I put it back there. And then this is all metal construction, cast, very well made brass fitting right here. And you have your polarities in there with hex keys, but you don't have to worry about that. This right here, this wire connects to that, and then you see the other one there. So whether it's positive or negative, all you have to do is switch it from the front with your DINS connector. And so depending on what process you're using, if you're going MIG or Flux core, you're going to go, here's the positive one and the DC negative. So all you have to do is change your polarities here, basically. Makes it simple instead of taking that off. And then it tells you how to set up the wire feed with the spool. You take off this wing nut, take this big old hooey off, put your spool of 03, in this case 30 thousandths 030 wire, put it on there. As you see, it's under. It's gonna go under like that. Follow the arrow. Goes under inside this little bad boy right here. Goes right in there. And you hold the wire so it doesn't bird nest or whatever. Put it in there, and you feed it through here into that back groove, and it's going to go in there in that little nozzle. And then when you get it in there, clamp it down with your tensioner. You're going to set the tension accordingly so that it can grab and feed right here. Then you have where this machine will recognize if you're not welding, but you're just feeding the wire. Once you hook this up, you're going to plug that brass fitting right here. It's going to go all the way in, and then you make sure you basically loosen that first, this wing nut, so that the brass fitting of this spool gun can go in there and snug up inside of here and make a positive connection, because that wire is going to be going across inside of that brass fitting. Once you get that all the way in, you tighten that down. It's going to be secure here. The wire is going to feed through this. You should have this unrolled, of course. your wire is going to feed through this. It's going to come out the front. You should remove this tip. Remove this tip, and then the consumable inside, take that off as well. And then the wire comes out. And you put your consumable on your tip on, clip it to your proper size, just a little bit past there. And again, adjust your tensioner. I want to make sure this is back on there, of course. So that your that little doohickey there stays on. It's not going to go off, but it's good to be safe. So then you got all this stuff set up. Then when you have the power on, you can reference if you're welding mild steel or stainless steel or aluminum, you're going to need the spool gun, of course, with spool gun only. So you can basically weld mild steel, stainless steel, or aluminum with this welder. You have a maximum output of 140 amps, but the rated duty cycle is 30% for 90 amps. So you can weld 30% of an hour at 90 amps, which is a good amount of time for a welder of this size. It's only 24 pounds. And then you're going to go through your settings, figure out what wire size you're using. So in this case, it's 030. So I will come to, say I'm doing mild steel, and I'm using 030. And I'm welding some 1/8. So here's my thickness of my material thickness. I go to 1/8. I come all the way down to mild steel, and I'm using the shielding gas. In this case, it says 100% CO2. So I'm going to be doing the gold gas, which is this. So I come up to that one. Shielding gas, I'm using the argon and the CO2, not just pure CO2. So I'm a DC electrode positive, direct current electrode positive, DCEP. Go there. Wire size is 030, so you come up to the white line. And since I'm welding 1/8 inch thick steel, I go all the way down here. And it gives me my wire speed, which is 260, my voltage, which is 18.5, and my inductance, which is between 5 and 10. So you can, on the low end 5 and the high end 10. There's my settings right there. Wire speed, voltage, inductance for 030 wire, the 30 thousandths wire, or 8mm if you're using metric. And the material is 1/8 inch, eighth of an inch, which is 3.2 millimeters thick. That's about as thick as this can weld. And we're using 120 volts because that's what this machine is designed to weld at. Not the 240, but the 120 volts, which is good for a hobbyist. Here's your wire symbol, your Mig symbol with the V for voltage, and your Mig symbol, which is the gas. Metal inert gas. That's what the Mig stands for. Before you start welding, you got all this stuff going. It's a good idea to close this so you don't get a bunch of spatter or whatever in there. Not that it's going to get in there, but it's just to keep all this stuff clean. So you got your chart. You set it already. You already set everything up. Close it up. Secure. You're going to power it on. The power's in the back. Here's your power switch. Heavy duty power switch. Your gas is going to go here. Your gas nozzle plugs in right there to the bottle. And here's your plug, which is your standard three-prong plug. Really good quality, very thick. So it's well insulated. This is going to last a while. 14 AWG. So you got a really quality electrical wire here to provide enough amps and the current to go through there without getting this thing, hot. Same thing with the spool gun. This thing looks like it can handle the heat. It's well made. It's a well designed, well made product. Titanium is now becoming kind of a thing over at Harbor Freight. It's one of their higher end products. I like it, and it's got a lot of good reviews on YouTube. Really good reviews on this welder. And I got a deal on it. I only paid $300. It's a $400 welder. Sometimes you can get a coupon and get it for $50 less, which you put it at $350. But since this was an open box where the guy literally bought it, and then that same day he brought it back an hour later because he wanted something else, he didn't even use it. So they dropped it. They took $100 off at my local Harbor Freight. I got it for $2.99, which it says there $3.19, but they marked it down again to $2.99. Open box. So they took off. They had to take off each day. So they took off the first day whatever percent, and then the next day when I came, they took off another whatever percent. It turned out to be $100 less. So ultimately, I think I saved, I don't know, like 30% or something like that. So 140 amps, like I said. It has two processes: gas metal arc welding, metal inert gas, that's your GMA; flux cord arc welding, which is FCA, flux cord arc welding, which means the flux is inside of the wire that you're going to weld with, whereas this one is going to be gas shielded because the gas is from the bottle. Your pure CO2 or your gold gas, which is the argon CO2 mix, 75% argon, 25% CO2. Some people prefer to use 100% CO2. It just depends on what you're welding and what you want it hotter. You weld it. I think it welds hotter when you use the CO2, pure CO2. This thing can hold, I think, up to a 10-pound spool. It came with 2 spools, 1 pound each of flux cord. This is the flux cord wire, and I think they're both 030. Yeah. So this one is 030. The diameter. That little symbol with the line through it, that means diameter. The 0 would be where the 1 inch would be your inch symbol. See the point? So you're going 3 decimal points, so it's 30 thousandths thickness. 30 thousandths of an inch. So that's your flux wire. And then this is the same thing. It's 030. And it's 1 pound, same diameter. But this is your solid wire, which is your MIG wire for the gas shielding. So metal inert gas. So it came with a couple of pounds, 1 pound, so you can get started. And you could weld out of the box. You don't need I don't have the gas bottle, obviously. So I could do some flux core welding right now if I wanted to. Just put on that 1 pound spool, and I could start welding right away out the box, which is great. One thing I'm going to buy for sure is a fire extinguisher to keep on hand when I do my welding. I learned that in welding school. And I already have a welding cart that I've also bought at Harbor Freight, which is real nice. It's all metal construction. And I'm going to buy a welding table, so you can ground clamp your welder to the welding table. The ground clamp is in here as well. Came with like everything you need. So the ground clamp is in here. Ground cable and the gas hose. So it's a standard ground cable. It's good quality. It's not great quality, but it's good quality. Durable enough. It'll handle it. It's brass. It's good stuff. And then your gas is kind of like a braided hose. Good quality. And here's your fitting, your brass fitting, which plugs into the back right here for the gas input. And then the other side plugs into the gas bottle. So it like I said, it comes with everything you're going to need to start welding immediately. The one thing I did notice is that it was supposed to come with a set of the gauges, the gas regulator rather, which would fit right here. So maybe the guy that bought it took that out and kept it, because they said he bought it and then an hour later he brought it back in and all it was just an open box, nothing else. But it was definitely missing the regulator. So I'm not really worried about it because the regulator I could buy for like on Amazon for like $25-30. But meanwhile, I got $100 discount off of this brand new titanium, never before used. He never welded with it. He literally bought it and brought it back the same day. Of course, I marked it with my name. So it's got all your stuff right here for your settings. It's foolproof. The manual is very well written. It's the same manual for the 170, which would be the 240 volt version of this is the 120 volt. So the other one, the MiG 170, would maximum output would be 170 amps. This was maximum output 140 amps. So if you're a backyard welder, if you're repairing trailers or building barbecue grills or furniture or projects for your wife, or building maybe a go-kart for your son, or any kind of like project that requires welding, this thing is excellent. It's a very well built machine, and the manual is very well written. Very, very good depictions of what to do, what not to do, all the safety stuff. Wear your safety gear, your welding hoods and stuff like that. Very, very easy to understand manual. I took some notes. Again, I've been to welding school at Cerritos College, which is it's a very good school. Here's your quick start guide. Came inside of here too. All this stuff comes in here. Came with some extra consumables, like your extra tips there. And this black one is plastic. This black tip for the nozzle. For that. Take that. That's for MIG. This plastic one's for Flux core. And again, you have a couple of consumables, and you have two of these wire feed gauge things. And I just keep everything in here. I got some painter's tape. I got a Sharpie in there. I got my measuring tape in case you got to measure and cut or something. I keep all that in there, just handy basically. And then there's a pencil, like a little pencil. You just never know when you're gonna need that stuff. So, and then it's some tape. Tape all that down. And yeah, man, this is it. My new titanium MiG 140. Pretty excited about it. It's got a digital readout right here. It's really cool. This little feature right here is a cool feature. This, when it's up in this position like that, it's whenever you squeeze the handle of the MiG gun, you're going to get the weld starts, and when you let go, it stops. If you put it here, when you squeeze the handle of the spool gun, the weld starts, and it keeps going even if you let go until you squeeze the handle again, and then it stops. So I won't be using that feature because that's for like a long bead you're going to run. I'll be using the top one, which is squeeze it, stop, and then it weld stops. So here's your digital readout for your wire feed speed. Here's your voltage, your inductance. So all your settings are right here, and you can easily read them. Tells you if the power's on, the light's on right there. The alarm is basically if it's too hot, that'll come on. But if it hits the duty cycle, it'll stop and it'll rest, but you just leave the power on. So if it hits the duty cycle, let the power stay on. Put the nozzle down. Go get yourself a cold drink or a cup of coffee or something. Let this thing cool down. Come back and start your weld again. And when it's working, when you're actually doing the work, that light will be on. So this thing is pretty much foolproof. You know what I mean? Like, here's your DINS connector for your DC EP, which is electrode positive, or DC EN, electrode negative. So it makes it real simple for you to get the right process, because it'll tell you in the manual if you're going to do flux. I believe it's DC EN. If you're doing MIG, it's DC EP. And it's got the little tip on there, the brass tip, and it fits in there. You lock it down. Once you lock it down, you're in business. You just make sure you're in the right settings so you can get that going. And that's it, man. This whole thing only weighs 24 pounds. So it's very light. I think it's a good deal. I can't say enough about it. I'm glad I bought it. Good piece of gear. It'll make you some money, man. And you know the saying, to make money, you got to spend money. So I spent some money and got myself a Titanium Mig 140 from Harbor Freight in Whittier. And I'm very pleased with this purchase. And I'll keep you updated because I do plan on doing some furniture projects, making some cool stuff. I don't have to do any repairs or anything yet, but I have some friends that are homeowners and car owners, and I'm sure they're going to be knocking on my door and say, hey, man, bring that welder over and let's get going and doing some repairs. But again, this is good for repairs. It's good for building stuff. It's good for fabrication. It's just good for practice. It makes you a better welder. So you could go to school. You could learn in the shop. You could learn from your dad. The point is learn safely and practice a lot. You're going to get better. You're always going to improve the more you do it. Watch YouTube, take a college class on welding, and get after it, man. All right. Thanks for watching.